Hi, I'm Dr. Robert Selig, and I want to thank you for taking the time for watching this video. And I also encourage you to go to my Facebook page and my website at Back to Natural Health to get more cutting-edge videos and to get more of an idea on how I really treat my chronic cases. I have certain programs that I offer, and I got a lot of information to help people overcome their chronic illnesses. So go to Back to Natural Health to get more information. Today I want to talk about my upcoming workshop in which I'm really hitting hard is adrenal exhaustion, because it really is the plague of our day, the epidemic of our time. And medical science really has dropped the ball because they don't have a test to measure exhaustion, and yet we have 70% of the adult population is walking around chronically fatigued. And the worst thing is, when you don't have energy, you're on survival mode. When you're in survival mode, your energy is going to basic survival. You're getting up to go to work, to pay the bills. That's not living. When you have low energy, you can't do the things that you love doing, and there's nothing worse not having the energy to do the things you love doing, and even being around the people that you love being around. When you don't have energy, you're going to wall yourself off and you're going to go into your cave because you just don't have the energy to deal with your friends and your family, and that's not living. And so this is an epidemic that is plaguing our country. So adrenal exhaustion syndrome is the topic of my workshop, and I'm inviting you to come to this workshop because at my workshop we're going to be talking about the common and not so common signs and symptoms of exhaustion. We're going to be talking about some of the myths regarding exhaustion. One myth is just because you go to work doesn't mean you're burnt out. I know many people going to work and doing their job, but yet they look normal, they seem normal, but yet they're so depleted. They have no energy and they're losing the zest for life. So we'll be talking about many of the top myths of burnout. I'm going to talk about my story on adrenal exhaustion. I graduated high school in 1981 and was exhausted and spent the next 20 years, really the next 30 years, overcoming adrenal exhaustion. And I didn't really overcome this until 2000. And that's when I got to the grips of what was really crippling me and why I had no energy. I had enough energy to get through school, to hold down a part-time job while in school, but that was it. I was burnt out. And so I didn't want to go through life being burnt out. So I really looked into this with all my energy on how to overcome my exhaustion. And I really will be talking about my story at the workshop. And what's important is proper diagnosis. Medical science really has dropped the ball because we can't measure fatigue. And so what I look for when a patient comes to me, we have some classic physical examination techniques that we employ at my office that I like to run. So I'm going to look at Rogoff's sign. We're going to look at the pupillary reflex test by shining a light. We can measure how quickly the eye dilates and constricts, and we can measure your level of exhaustion based on that. Sargent's white line test, we run a fork down your forearm and we see how quickly the blood recovers in that area, is another sign of exhaustion. And we're going to look at Ragland's sign, which is another sign or another test that I do. It's a blood pressure test, so we have you lay on the table and then we check your blood pressure when you stand up, and we look at the deviation of blood pressure from resting to standing, and we can determine what level of, we can determine if you're in exhaustion based on these physical signs. But more importantly, we have to look at proper lab testing. Lab testing is critical. We need to look at cortisol. Cortisol is, when we wake up should be high, when we go to bed should be low. And so the cortisol is one of the functions of the adrenal glands. We also have to look at hormones, all the sex steroid hormones. We also, if you talk about the thyroid, you have to talk about, if you talk about the adrenals, you have to talk about the thyroid. They're intimately related. The thyroid and the adrenal complex, those are your two main energy producing glands. And when there's low energy, there's a disconnect between the two. You know, the cortisol goes to the thyroid, or the adrenals make the thyroid, that goes to the liver to release the stored glucose. And then the thyroid is going to burn that glucose. So there's that interconnection that we need to really go over. And we're also going to be going over gut panels. If you have chronic gut infections, that's going to tank your adrenal glands. If you have food sensitivities and you're eating foods that are causing an immune response, that also is going to tank your adrenal glands. And we're also going to do a hair tissue mineral analysis, and that's one of my favorite tests to run, because then I can delineate which phase of exhaustion you're in. Are you just in your, fatigue, or are you in burnout? And we have markers to determine on a hair tissue mineral analysis what degree of burnout you're in. We're also going to be talking about solutions. Solutions are the key, and how I can teach you how you can overcome adrenal exhaustion. And I have affordable programs, so each program we add more testing, we have more protocols and more, things that we do in the office, but I will guarantee that I'll have an affordable program for anyone so they can really overcome their exhaustion. So we're going to talk about my solutions in lab testing, the science of nutritional balancing. We're going to be talking about detoxification strategies. We're going to talk about the right therapies that people need when they're in adrenal exhaustion. So this will be the basic of my workshop. These are the themes and topics we'll be going over. And this is a workshop. If you're suffering with adrenal exhaustion, you don't want to miss this workshop, because I'm going to show you how you can really overcome the epidemic of our age. So please call 773-325-2225 to reserve your seat for my next upcoming workshop. You don't want to miss this, because I have some cutting edge information that I want to share with you, and want to show that there is really a way to overcome this plague of our day, and look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.